as a Democrat, as a socialist, as a
Gavin Newsom is a socialist.
As a coddle criminals, has he condemned Mondami? Has he condemned what's going on here?
Kellyanne, stop just throwing whatever on the wall about this.
Jesse,
you're just using buzzwords.
No,
Kellyanne Conway just put Jessica Tarlov on blast live on national television, and it was savage. Picture this, a heated exchange on The Five, millions watching, and a clash that exposed the raw tension between political talk and reality. Kellyanne didn't hold back, and Tarlov's questions barely landed before Conway tore through them with facts, critiques, and some eyebrow-raising opinions. But this wasn't just about one moment on TV, it was about California politics, partisan clashes, and the bigger picture of what voters actually want. From debates on crime and taxes to California's ongoing challenges under Gavin Newsom.
I'm not even sure anybody tuning in, Dana, let alone to California, halfway into his press conference, even knows what he's talking about. They presume that we all know what brought us to that moment, that platform says rigging, Election Rigging Response Act, Adam Schiff's behind him, of all people. Next, they're going to invite Kamala up to the podium. I mean, Adam Schiff, of all people, who's got a true problem on his hands, having lied in the mortgage application thing. He's a senator from California, yet somehow he lives in Maryland. And here's a guy who lied to all of us day after day. There's evidence of Russia collusion in plain sight. This is relevant now because these investigations will continue. I don't think this is a case of flattery is the greatest, imitation is the greatest form of flattery. I think it's a messageless, rudderless, leaderless party.
Every point sparked pushback, exposing gaps in logic, polling interpretations, and even international intrigue. And what happened next would shock everyone. Conway didn't just debate, she dominated the discussion, shutting down Tarlov in ways that had viewers talking long after the segment ended. Kellyanne didn't waste time getting to the heart of the matter. She went straight after what she sees as the major failures of Democrats: defunding the police, defending criminals, higher taxes, and more regulations that she claims are choking California. Everything beautiful about California was God-made, she said, and every disaster seems man-made. She painted a picture of voters frustrated by policies that, in her view, aren't protecting their communities. But she didn't just stop at broad criticism. She drilled into specifics, calling out politicians like Adam Schiff for past missteps and pointing to systemic issues she claims are being ignored.
By the way, Donald Trump is one of one. Even Republicans who try to act like him often come up short.
They fail, and it's embarrassing.
They fail, and it's,
But Jessica, also today there's a poll that said 61% of California Democrats oppose the plan to throw out the Independent Redistricting Commission. Do you think that holds, or can he persuade them that he's right?
So the problem with that poll is it didn't actually ask the question that applies to what Gavin Newsom is offering, which is to not get rid of the Independent Commission on a long-term basis, but to suspend it. He's offering three different maps, three different versions of what's possible. It'll be on a ballot measure, so it will be democratically voted on November 5th.
Her point was sharp. Voters want accountability, leadership, and common sense governance, not a party that she argues is leaderless and ruleless. And while some might see this as a standard critique, Conway's delivery made it feel like a live takedown, leaving no room for Tarlov's pushback. But that wasn't the whole story. What she said next would pull the debate into international and political drama even Tarlov didn't expect.
It's and when they're elected, I'll clarify, it's easy, simple to get elected and reelected as a Democrat, as a socialist, as a coddle,
Gavin Newsom is a socialist.
As a coddle criminals. Has he condemned Mondami? Has he condemned what's going on here?
Stop just throwing whatever on the wall about this.
Jesse,
you're just using buzzwords.
Conway didn't shy away from controversy. She jumped into hot topics, from foreign policy to trade deals, weaving them into the California debate in a way that shocked viewers. She highlighted President Trump's international moves, from the Middle East to Putin, framing them as bold steps in contrast to what she described as Democrats' weak responses. Then she pivoted back home, calling out Gavin Newsom and the Independent Redistricting Commission.
I don't need to use buzzwords. Here's
really,
the
Mondani has nothing to do with Gavin Newsom.
Oh, New York City has nothing to do with the governor of California. They're the same party, as is your party. But since you invoked my name, we're going to do Fox News debate rules, and I get 30 seconds. Here's what I meant.
I never get that rule.
It is so simple to be elected, reelected, reelected. As a Democrat in California, it's impossible to govern as these kinds of Democrats in California is all I mean. His policies are being rejected. People do want tough on crime. They don't want fewer cops on the beat. They don't want fewer Border Patrol people helping them. They don't want schools that are failing their kids year in and year out, and Democrats insisting everything's okay. He wants to be president in 2028. He ought to find a new country to try to do that.
Conway argued that polls were misleading, saying they didn't capture the nuance of Newsom's proposal to temporarily suspend the commission until 2030. She didn't just throw stats around, she explained why this matters, connecting it to voter influence, potential seat shifts, and the broader balance of power. By blending domestic policy, political strategy, and international intrigue, she kept viewers hooked. And what happened next revealed just how fiercely she would defend her positions, and how unprepared Tarlov seemed to counter them. This is where Kellyanne really took control. Jessica Tarlov tried to toss in critiques and buzzwords, but Conway cut through them like a knife. When Tarlov brought up New York City policies or vague Democrat failures, Conway didn't just respond, she exposed the gaps, pointing out that these issues weren't directly tied to California's governor, Gavin Newsom. She pushed back on the polling numbers, explained the misinterpretation, and even referenced Arnold Schwarzenegger's role in the independent redistricting process to underline her points. It was precision and authority combined. Every counter she made wasn't just reactionary, it was strategic. By the time she wrapped her explanations, viewers saw a masterclass in controlling a political debate, forcing Tarlov on the defensive and proving that being quick, informed, and confident could completely dominate the conversation. And just when it seemed the segment might settle down, Conway dropped a line that pushed the discussion into even more shocking territory. Kellyanne didn't hold back when it came to California's policies on crime and governance. She argued that voters are fed up with fewer cops on the beat, Border Patrol shortages, and failing schools, painting a picture of a state struggling under what she called unrealistic Democratic priorities. She made it personal, saying that governing as a Democrat in California isn't about being elected, it's about actually delivering results. And in her view, the party is falling short. Conway also highlighted Newsom's ambitions, hinting that someone wanting to run for president in 2028 should first prove they can manage their own state. She framed these critiques in a way that kept viewers engaged, blending sharp criticism with relatable concerns about safety and education. Her delivery was fast, pointed, and unflinching, keeping the energy high. But the next twist came when she tied local policies to international influence, leaving Tarlov scrambling to respond. Just when you thought the debate was all about local politics, Kellyanne Conway dropped a twist that no one saw coming. She shifted the conversation from state governance to a global stage, connecting California's policies to international currents in a way that left viewers riveted. It wasn't just politics. It was intrigue, almost like a subplot in a thriller. Conway argued that some of Governor Newsom's decisions weren't happening in a vacuum. They were indirectly serving foreign interests. And she specifically referenced the Chinese Communist Party's influence in San Francisco. Right away, the audience knew this segment wasn't going to be typical daytime debate fare. She didn't just make vague claims. She painted a vivid, almost cinematic picture. Streets were cleaned up, needles removed, piles of debris cleared, and even sea lions were mentioned, all allegedly in preparation for CCP events. The imagery was startling, almost surreal, but that was exactly the point. Conway was showing viewers that local governance could have consequences far beyond what most citizens notice, turning something as ordinary as street maintenance into a high-stakes story about influence and control. It was bold, it was provocative, and it demanded attention. But Conway didn't leave it as a one-off claim. She connected it to a larger narrative about power and benefit, asking implicitly who really gains when decisions are made that seem purely local. By tying the local to the global, she reframed the conversation entirely. Viewers weren't just watching a political debate anymore, they were watching a masterclass in perspective, where even the smallest decisions could be tied to world affairs. This elevated the stakes of the discussion, giving the segment a dramatic tension rarely seen on daytime panels. And then came the clincher. After building this elaborate picture of international implications, Conway pivoted back to Tarlov in a way that left the commentator visibly flustered. The lines weren't just sharp, they were calculated, strategic, and designed to reclaim control of the conversation. It was a lesson in timing, how to land a narrative bomb, then immediately follow up with precision to dominate the dialogue. The effect on viewers was immediate. Attention spiked, reactions on social media surged, and the segment became a talking point for anyone who had tuned in. Conway's approach also underscored a larger point about perception and media literacy. By blending local and global elements, she forced the audience to think critically about the intersection of governance, influence, and optics. Every example, from the meticulous cleaning of city streets to the alleged preparation for international visitors, was layered to provoke thought and debate. It was almost like she was saying, don't just watch, analyze. Don't just listen, consider the broader context. In the end, this wasn't just about California politics or even about Tarlov. It was about narrative mastery. Conway demonstrated how a speaker could guide the audience's attention, escalate stakes, and maintain control, all while delivering a controversial claim that had enough drama to keep viewers glued. The segment was intense, cinematic, and unforgettable, leaving no doubt that Conway could turn an ordinary debate into a moment of political theater. Just when it seemed the segment had reached its peak, Kellyanne Conway shifted gears, transforming what started as a standard debate into a full-blown takedown. Right out of the gate, she went on the offensive, calling out vague buzzwords and misdirected criticism, framing Jessica Tarlov's points as rooted in misunderstanding rather than substance. The pivot was electric. Viewers could almost feel the momentum change in the room. Conway didn't meander or stumble. She hit every point with precision, instantly raising the stakes of the conversation. Her delivery was rapid-fire but razor-sharp. One after another, she laid out her arguments. Democrats struggle to govern effectively, voters crave tougher crime policies, and Governor Newsom's leadership is being tested on multiple fronts, both locally and nationally. But she didn't just present facts. She created a narrative contrast, showing the gap between rhetoric and results, between winning elections and delivering meaningful governance. By doing so, she reframed the debate entirely, turning what could have been a defensive exchange into a showcase of strategic clarity. Conway also wove a larger thread through her points, connecting local governance failures to broader national ambitions. She argued that being elected doesn't automatically translate into effectiveness, and voters are starting to notice the difference. Every line reinforced the same message: strategy, execution, and real-world impact matter far more than slogans or political theater. It was a calculated move. She wasn't just responding to Tarlov, she was educating the audience, showing them how to critically assess leadership and weigh results against promises. Transitions in her delivery were seamless. One moment she was dismantling buzzwords and misrepresentations, and the next, she was analyzing policy impact and voter sentiment. Each point built on the last, creating a cascade effect that left little room for pushback. By connecting California's local issues to national implications, she highlighted that leadership isn't isolated. It ripples outward, influencing everything from crime policy to electoral strategy. It was an insightful lens, and Conway's timing and emphasis made it impossible to ignore. Her tone remained confident and unrelenting throughout, balancing critique with clarity. She emphasized that voters are watching outcomes, not optics, and she tied together failures and successes in a narrative that felt both immediate and consequential. By highlighting the contrast between what is promised and what is delivered, she framed her opposition's points as not just flawed, but out of touch with voter priorities. Conway's method was methodical yet theatrical, blending the authority of an expert with the performance of a seasoned debater. As the segment drew to a close, Conway ensured her exit was as impactful as her entrance. She ended on a pointed, reflective note that invited the audience to consider the broader picture. Electoral success doesn't equate to effective governance, and leadership is defined by tangible results, not just rhetoric. The delivery left viewers with a lingering impression of dominance, a sense that they had witnessed more than a debate. They had witnessed a masterclass in debate strategy and narrative control. It wasn't just a defense, it was an unambiguous statement of political acumen, leaving the audience thinking, discussing, and reevaluating long after the cameras cut.